Hello, how are you all? I forgot to plug in my microphone. Let me know if you can hear it on this. Let's see. Checking. Hopefully, I have sound. I'm live. Hey, you all. Thank you for joining, anyone that's here. So, the Twitter files dropped last night, and I was going to go live last night. I wanted to go live as they dropped and go through them. They were supposed to come out at 5. They were delayed. And then I fell asleep because I've been a little bit sick and I go to bed at 7 p.m. now. That's my bedtime. So that's what happened. But we have them now. And I'm just going to read the entire thread to you. So if there's one that you just listen to and don't watch, this is one to do that. If you are here, let me know if for some reason you cannot hear me because I just plugged in my microphone. So hopefully StreamYard picked up my microphone. Anyway, I will go ahead and get started. The Twitter files. So as you know, Elon Musk purchased Twitter a while back. He is now the head of Twitter. He's the boss over at Twitter. He purchased it for cool, you can hear me. He purchased it for $44 billion. That's how much Twitter was. And as you know, when he purchased Twitter, all of the mainstream media politicians started going nuts. It's going to be so dangerous. Oh my gosh, it's going to be so dangerous. That's what they all told us. And Elon Musk has said this whole time the only reason I purchased Twitter was I think it would be a really cool public square, a really cool free speech platform, obviously within reason. You don't want actual harassment, you don't want actual threats of violence and things like that. And you saw what happened with Kanye. Thank you very much. I am feeling better. I just get tired early at night and I sound nasally and feel nasally. Elon suspended Kanye West. Whether or not you agree with that suspension, that just goes to show that not anything goes on Twitter. You might like that, you might not, but it sort of debunks all of the liberal media saying that Elon Musk is so dangerous and freedom of speech is dangerous. By the way, those that are against freedom of speech have never been the good guys ever throughout history. It's funny how, you don't have a moment of clarity and say to yourself, if you're one of those people that's so upset over freedom of speech, you don't have a moment of clarity and you ask yourself, am I the baddie? Not one moment. But I do believe that's because they all live in an echo chamber. Anyway, yes, you saw liberal media freak out. You saw liberal politicians freak out. All these celebrities announced that they are going to leave Twitter because freedom of speech is so scary. Well, now we're starting to understand why they are freaking out so much about Elon Musk purchasing Twitter. So just this past week, Jack Dorsey himself, former CEO of Twitter, the day before this came out, the Twitter files said that Elon Musk did not just purchase an app, he purchased a social media app. Jack Dorsey himself, former CEO of Twitter, by the way, he left Twitter before Elon bought it, said he did not just buy a social media app, he bought a crime scene. That is what Jack Dorsey said a few days ago, a day or 2 days before the actual files came out. We have an Australian here. So that's what the former CEO of Twitter said. And then the guy Yoel Roth, I believe is his name. He was a former Twitter exec. He was in charge of trust and safety, all that stuff. And he also came out about 2 days, so this past week, about 2 days before these files dropped, and said that he regrets, suppressing the Hunter Biden laptop story. And that's the focus of these files. So these files are specifically focusing on the laptop story. I do believe there's going to be a series of drops. This was the first drop, came out last night. Elon tweeted out that the reason they were delayed is because they were fact checking certain things. So this is the first of many. And now that these things are starting to come out, now that you have that quote by Jack Dorsey, you have Yoel now saying, well, maybe we shouldn't have done that. I think that was a mistake. Now you're starting to understand why people are losing it. And I want to say before I start reading these, none of this to me is really a surprise. And for you all too, I think we're all on the same page about this. None of this is a surprise to us. I think it's just sort of that confirmation of seeing it right in front of you and seeing some of the emails and the exchanges. That definitely it gives you a bit of a confirmation, I think. Now what's funny is you might oh, thank you so much, Tron. Have a coffee on me. Thank you, Tron, very much. I will have a coffee. I need a coffee. Thank you. Do you believe anyone from Twitter can have charges brought against them? I don't know. Because obviously, so people are saying that this is a violation of the First Amendment, what I'm about to read for you. Now, what happens? Okay, and I want to also make this clear. It is not a violation of the First Amendment for a private company to do what they will. That is their right. They can remove anyone from Twitter for any reason. That's their right, whether it's ethical or not. But they can. Now, where it is a violation of the First Amendment is now you have the government involved. Now you have them talking back and forth with government officials. And that's where the problem is. Because when you're a private company, you do what you want. It's your company. You make the rules. You know, just like I can hire or fire anyone for any reason. Kelly, Merry Christmas. It's the same thing. So a private company can act how they want. The issue is with the First Amendment is how they are now in collusion, in cahoots, possibly with government officials. Okay, so the Twitter files. Let's go through it. This is what was dropped. So it was dropped in the form of a Twitter thread. I will read the entire thing to you and we can stop and talk about it. And then I have a few of some of the emails that I can show you when we get to that portion of the thread. Again, to us, it's not super new, but it's really interesting hearing exactly what was happening. And it seems that they were talking to both sides, but clearly the bias was on one side. All right. So this is Matt Taibbi from Twitter who is reporting this. And he's an author and journalist. And I guess was working with Elon to uncover these things. Twitter talk, gotta love it. Oh, you're just in time. I'm just about to start the Twitter file. These are the Twitter files. Dun dun dun. Okay, thread, the Twitter files. What you are about to read is the first installment in a series based upon thousands of internal documents obtained by sources at Twitter. The Twitter files tell an incredible story from inside one of the world's largest and most influential social platforms. It is a Frankensteinian tale of human-built mechanism grown out of the control of its designer. So basically, he's saying that this is something that was created by the designer and then it just got out of control. Sort of like, you know how we talk about little human robots, how a human robot is made. Oh, maybe I wasn't talking to you about this. I was talking to some friends about this. We were discussing AI, how there's this horror movie, Megan, that came out about this little AI girl who basically her brain, her little computer brain starts to develop and it basically develops a conscience on its own and becomes evil. That's kind of a Frankenstein, I guess, concept similar to this. How you created something and then it just got out of control. Twitter, in its conception, was a brilliant tool for enabling instant mass communication, making a true real time global conversation possible for the first time. In early conception, Twitter more than lived up to its mission statement, giving people the power to create and share ideas and information instantly without barriers. And that really is the cool thing about Twitter. I know we hate on Twitter all the time, but it really is the one place. Yeah, Meghan. Not Meghan Markle, though. It's a movie. Look it up. It's super creepy. It came out in October, I think. So the cool thing about Twitter, I saw the funniest analogy about this, and someone was like, the greatness of Twitter is you can tell a celebrity to F off and they might actually see it. It does. It kind of takes those barriers away and allows you to interact with people you normally wouldn't be able to interact with. It allows journalists, creatives to just spew out quick ideas and be able to connect with the masses and vice versa. And that was really sort of, if you listen to Elon, that was kind of his that was really what he wanted to get back to. He wanted this global public square where you can just interact and talk to each other without barriers and share ideas quickly. And it was that for a while. As time progressed, however, the company was slowly forced to add those barriers. Some of the first tools for controlling speech were designed to combat the likes of spam and financial fraudsters. Slowly, over time, Twitter staff and executives began to find more and more uses for these tools. Outsiders began petitioning the company to manipulate speech as well. First a little, then more often, then constantly. By 2020, requests from connected actors to delete tweets were routine. One executive would write to another, more review from the Biden team. The reply would come back, handled. Now, here's the interesting thing. So, this is, I'm sorry, it's really little. This is the exchange that they're talking about in this tweet. So, you can see more to review for the Biden team. And there's a series of accounts. And at the bottom, it says thank you. And at the bottom, you see the reply and it says handle. Well, a few people actually went to search these accounts. All of them are suspended, or at least a few of them were. The ones that I know for sure that were suspended were the bottom one for sure. And then the top one, I know for sure those two are suspended. So he goes on to say, celebrities and unknowns alike would be removed or reviewed at the behest of a political party. On Sunday, October 25th, 2020 at 9:59 a.m., I grabbed the first one under SI. Defer to safety on the high-profile second one. So basically they're getting these tweets and they're just looking for reasons that they can say they took them down. Both parties had access to these tools. For instance, in 2020, requests from both the Trump White House and the Biden campaign were received and honored. However, the system wasn't balanced. It was based on contacts. Because Twitter was and is overwhelmingly staffed by people of one political orientation, there were more channels, more ways to complain, and open to the left, well, Democrats, than to the right. And he has right here contributions by party of recipient, and how a lot more from Twitter was contributed to the Democratic Party than the Republican Party. The resulting slant in content moderation decisions is visible in the documents you're about to read. However, it is also the assessment of multiple current and former high level executives. Okay, there was more throat clearing about the process, but screw it. Let's jump forward. Scrap glasses. I need a microscope. Sorry, that's so little. On October 14th, so this was when the story broke, the Hunter Biden laptop story. On October 14th, 2020, oh, I'm sorry, I skipped. The Twitter files, part 1, how and why Twitter blocked the Hunter Biden laptop story. So now we're getting to the good stuff. On October 14th, 2020, the New York Post published Biden's secret emails, an expose based on the contents of Hunter Biden's abandoned laptop. So remember, he went to go get his laptop repaired at this little repair shop, and then he just never picked it up. You would think you would be a little less flippant when you are the son of a high profile political figure and you got all kinds of mess on it. All kinds of mess. I am so paranoid. Like, I would never have anything on my phone because I am just so overly paranoid. Twitter took extraordinary steps, and I don't have anything to hide on my phone. It's probably just embarrassing pictures that I accidentally took and Kat and Eva. Eva's on my phone. There's lots of her. Twitter took extraordinary steps to suppress this story. Oh, thank you so much, Kelly. I have a plaza cooking, BRB. Oh, a pizza. What did I say? You have a plaza. You have a plaza cooking. How does one cook a plaza? Thank you so much, Kelly. I appreciate that. I hope your pizza is delicious. Don't let it burn. By all means. Twitter took extraordinary steps to suppress the story, removing links and posting warnings that it may be unsafe. They even blocked its transmission via direct message, a tool reserved for extreme cases. Child pornography. White House spokesperson Kayleigh McEnany was locked out of her account for tweeting about the story, prompting a furious letter from the Trump campaign staffer Mike Hahn, who seethed at least pretend to care for the next 20 days. Okay, so I'm going to read you the email from a White House staffer who is mad that, so this is from Mike Hahn, a Trump campaign staffer, who was rightfully mad that Kayleigh was locked out of her account for sharing the link to that story. So this is the email from Mike Hahn. This was October 4th at 7:19 p.m. Oh, I'm sorry, October 14th at 7:19 p.m. This is from Mike Hahn from the Trump campaign to, Twitter execs. He says, Kayleigh McEnany has been locked out from her account for simply talking about the New York Post story. All she did was cite the story and firsthand reporting that has been reported by other outlets and is not disputed by the Biden campaign. I need an answer immediately on when/how she will be unlocked. I don't appreciate how anybody on this team called me regarding the news that you'll be censoring news articles. Like I said, at least pretend to care for the next 20 days. Dang. Ugh. Interesting. Okay. This led public policy executive Caroline Strom to send out a WTF query. Several employees noted that there was tension between the comms/policy team, who had little/less control over moderation, and the safety trust team. So it seems like there was a lot of back and forth between the suppression of this story. Strom's note returned to answer that the laptop story had been removed for violation of the company's hacked materials policy. So she said she sent an email basically saying, what the heck is going on here? And then they clarified, and she said Thanks for reaching out to us. Per checking, the user was bounced by site integrity for violating our hacked materials policy. Adding them here for further insight and guidance. Thanks. Although several sources recalled hearing about a general warning from federal law enforcement that summer about possible foreign hacks, there's no evidence that I've seen of any government involvement in the laptop story. In fact, that might have been the problem. The decision was made at the highest levels of the company, but without the knowledge of CEO Jack Dorsey, with former head of legal policy and trust, Bayaja Gad, I'm sorry, I do not know how to pronounce her name, playing a key role. So that's one of the top Twitter execs, Vayat, cannot say her name, but she's one of the ones who Elon fired. Like one of the first ones that he fired. They just freelanced it, is how the former employee characterized the decision. Hacking was the excuse, but within a few hours, pretty much everyone realized that wasn't going to hold, but no one had the guts to reverse it. So they knew it was BS. They knew the excuse was BS, but no one had the guts to reverse it at that point, is basically what they're saying. You can see the confusion in the following lengthy exchange, which ends up including Gad and former trust and safety chief Yoel Roth. Yoel Roth, remember, is the one that came out publicly just last week and said that it was a mistake to suppress that story. Comms official Trenton Kennedy writes, I'm struggling to understand the policy basis for making this unsafe. So this is an email. Trenton Kennedy, I'm struggling to understand the policy basis for marking this as unsafe. And I think the best explainability argument for this externally would be that we are waiting to understand if the story is a result of hacked materials. We'll face hard questions on this if we don't have some kind of solid reasoning for marking the link unsafe. And then Katie Rosenbro, who I guess also works for Twitter, says, will we also mark similar stories as unsafe? Here's the interesting thing. The reason actually that the person that had the laptop was able to take it to wherever he took it and was able to look on it is because it states in their policy, you sign something when you leave your electronic to get fixed. If it stays here for a certain amount of time, it is no longer your property. It is our property, and we will dispose of it or do what is necessary. And a lot of places have that same exact policy. So that's why he was able, because at that point in time, it had been left with him long enough that it was legally his property. By this point, everyone knew this was effed, said one former employee, but the response was essentially to err on the side of, well, continuing to err. Yoel Roth, remember, this is the guy who came out publicly, says the policy basis is hacked material, although, as discussed, this is an emerging situation where the facts remain unclear. Given the severe risks here and lessons of 2016, we're erring on the side of including a warning and preventing content from being amplified. So that's how they suppress it. They prevent people from being able to share or retweet or whatever. Or they'll remove links via. I don't know how to say. I don't want to make. I hate when I mess up. People mess up my last name all the time, even though I think it's easy to say. What is the warning that will come up? Yoel Roth. New. When you click the link, you'll see that the generic unsafe URL message references spam, malware, and violations of Twitter rules. Not ideal, but it's the only thing we have. Ian Plunkett. New. Whatever we do in the comms, this will become bias claim for Jack pre-hearing immediately. Let's make it clear that we're proactively but cautiously interpreting this through the lens of our hacked materials policy and allowing the link with a warning and a significant reduction of spread. So that's how they did it. Former VP of Global Communication Brandon Borman asked, can we truthfully claim that this is a part of the policy? So they kind of know that this is BS, is what I'm gathering here. Brandon Borman. To Ian's point, can we truthfully claim that this is a part of the policy? As a part of our approach to addressing potentially hacked materials, we are limiting visibility to related stories on Twitter while investigation is ongoing. The thing is, this is a New York Post story. You would think before the New York Post posted this, they did all that vetting. And the one of the reasons why social media sites have so much safety is Section 230 protects them because they are not a publisher. But now, when you're sitting here, what they are doing in this case is they are acting as a publisher. We need to verify this. We need to do that. No, New York Post is a publisher. You're not a publisher. You're a social media site. Anywho. To which former Deputy Counsel Jim Baker again seems to advise staying the non course because caution is warranted. So, this is from Jen Baker. This is an internal email. I support the conclusion that we need more facts to assess whether the materials were hacked. At this stage, however, it is reasonable for us to assume that they may have been, and that caution is warranted. There are some facts that indicate that the materials have been hacked, while there are others indicating that the computer was either abandoned and or owner was consented to allow the repair shop to access it for at least some purposes. We simply need more information. Okay. A fundamental problem with tech companies and content moderation, many people in charge of. Okay, this is a great point. I read this earlier. A fundamental problem with tech companies and content moderation, many people in charge of speech know/care little about speech. We have to be told the basics by outsiders. That is so true. They don't know about free speech or they just don't really care. They don't think about the implications of what they're doing. And a lot of times, too, if it's your side that's winning, it seems less bad, I guess. And when you're surrounded by all of these people that are on your side, it doesn't seem as bad what you were doing, but it is bad. And, there was that poll that came out. But I will say what they're saying in the Twitter files is that in this specific situation, at least regarding Twitter, I can't speak for Facebook, but this seemed to be a choice that was in large part made by on this one thing. In large part, it seems that it was made by it, there was not interference. That this was kind of made by the staff at Twitter, and it was sort of their thing. Which not to say there wasn't in other instances, but in this one, it seems like this was the staff. But yeah, that's true. I want to read that again. A fundamental problem with tech companies and content moderation, many people in charge of speech know/care little about speech and have to be told the basics by outsiders. Yeah. They don't understand the importance of freedom of speech. They don't understand just speech in general. They probably don't know history. In one humorous exchange, on day one, Democratic Congressman Ron Khanna reaches out to Gad to gently suggest she hop on the phone and talk about backlash from a speech. Rana was the only Democratic official I could find in the files who expressed concern. Wait, what? Generating huge backlash on the Hill regarding speech. Happy to chat if you're up for it. Oh, wait a second. In one humorous exchange on day one, Democratic Congressman Ro Khanna reaches out to Gad to gently suggest she hop on the phone to talk about a backlash regarding speech. Khanna was the only Democratic official I could find in the files who expressed concern. Oh, I read that wrong. Okay. Interesting. Well, that was a Democratic official who actually cared. Okay, now this is funny. So That was the email that the Democratic congressman sent saying that he was concerned about speech, right? That talks were happening online or online. Ha, we're online. They're not online. Talks were happening on the Hill regarding issues surrounding speech. Gad replies quickly, immediately driving into the weeds of Twitter policy. Unaware, Khan is more worried about the Bill of Rights. So this is Yep. Thank you for reaching out, and we appreciate the heads up. We put out a clarifying thread of tweets earlier this evening to explain our policy around the posting of private information and linking directly to hacked materials. The press secretary's account was not permanently suspended. We requested that she delete the tweet containing the material that is in violation of our rules, and her account is restricted until she complies. I'm happy to jump on the phone if helpful. My team in DC, Jessica and Lauren, are copied here and are also available to discuss. Kana tries to reroute the conversation to the First Amendment, mention of which is generally hard to find in the files. Wow. Okay. So here's the email that Ro Khanna replied to. Hope you're well. But this seems a violation of the First Amendment principles. If there is a hack of classified information or other information that could expose a serious war crime, and the New York Times was to publish it, I think the New York Times should have the right. A journalist should not be held accountable for the illegal actions of the source unless they actively aided to the hack. So, to restrict the distribution of that material, especially regarding a presidential candidate, seems not in the keeping of the principles of the NYT versus Sullivan. I say this as a total Biden partisan. Wow, respect. I say this as a total Biden partisan and convinced he didn't do anything wrong, but the story now has become more about censorship than relatively innocuous emails, and it's become a bigger deal than it would have been. It's also now leading to serious efforts to curtail Section 230, many of which would have been a mistake. I believe Twitter itself should curtail what it recommends or puts in trending news, and your policy against QAnon groups, and it's all good. It's a hard balance. But in the heat of the presidential campaign, restricting dissemination of newspaper articles, even if New York Post is far right, seems like it will invite more backlash than it will do good. Interesting. Please keep this communication between us and Jack, and no need to CC the team or forward to them. Just wanted to offer my 2 cents. Wow. Okay, I just have to blow my nose really quick. I'm so sorry. Where's my other? I'll do it off the mic. Oh, it's so fun being ill. I am getting better, I promise. Okay, well, that's interesting. Within a day, head of public policy Lauren Culbertson receives a ghastly letter report from Carl Sasbo of the research firm NetChoice, who had only polled about 12 members of Congress, 9 Republicans and 3 Democrats from the House Judiciary Committee to Representative Judy Chu's office. Lauren, yesterday NetChoice's Chris Murchise met informally with 9 Republicans and 3 Democratic House staffers to gather intel about Facebook and Twitter and the New York Post story. The staffers hail from the House Judiciary. Okay, so they're inquiring. NetChoice lets Twitter know a bloodbath awaits in upcoming Hill hearings, with members saying it is a tipping point, complaining that tech has grown so big that they can't even regulate themselves, so government may need to intervene. Sasbo reports to Twitter that some Hill figures are characterizing the laptop story as tech's access Hollywood moment. Twitter files continued. The First Amendment isn't absolute. Sasbo's letter contains chilling passages relaying Democratic lawmakers' attitudes. They want more moderation. And as for the Bill of Rights, it's not absolute. So that is their attitude regarding the Bill of Rights. And it concludes An amazing subplot of the Twitter/Hunter Biden laptop affair was how so much was done without the knowledge of CEO Jack Dorsey, and how long it took for the situation to get uneffed, as one ex-employee put it, even after Dorsey jumped in. All right, so that is the first installment of the Twitter files. That was another email I read. I can't remember which one that is, but that is very small. I apologize. I'm getting better. Thank you all. So there you have it. And why is this so important? Why is this so important? It's just a social media company. It's just Twitter. It's just this, it's just that. Why does it matter? Because this is how a lot of us communicate. It's how we get our information. It's how we share information. And I want to read you something. I actually bought this little book in Laguna Beach. And it's one of those little, it was one of those little gift stores. And they have these cute, I always buy these cute little books. They're just fun, it's like trivia and I don't know. But it's stuff every American should know. That's the name of the book. And it says, what is the Electoral College? And I just thought this was interesting. So it talks about the Electoral College, why we have it, why it was made, why it's important. And I want to read you this part that I highlighted. When the framers of the Constitution were hammering out the details of the summer of 1787, they worried that ordinary people would lack the intelligence to know how to properly elect a president. This fear wasn't as condescending as it might seem. Remember, the new nation was big. It took weeks and sometimes months for news to travel. The farmers didn't think it was possible for voters, even if they were educated, to know everything necessary about all the candidates. In vast governmental system of checks and balances, the Electoral College seemed like a good way to guard against the uninformed decision by the people. So that's one of the reasons that it was made, and that kind of makes sense because they didn't have technology the way we do back in the day. So if you lived in the middle of the country, it could take weeks, months for certain information to get to you. So they put this in place in order to protect people so that they could make informed decisions. And now we live in this era where everything is right here. We can get any piece of information in a matter of seconds, just right here. We carry an entire library encyclopedia set right here, all day, every day. Yet we are still not making informed decisions. It's crazy. And that's what they did. They suppressed this story, and it's so important. There was a poll done right after the election where people were asked, if you knew certain things, would you have voted differently? And they talked to liberals. 17% of them said they didn't know the story existed, and they would have voted differently if they knew that particular story existed. That's how serious this is, to mess with information and stuff like that right before an election. Because how are you supposed to make an informed decision if you don't have all the information? Our founding fathers knew that. And that's what these people, they think they're playing God. They're playing with the information that is available to people. That's called propaganda. That's what countries like North Korea do. And you know what's crazy? We don't all have the same internet. Like if you go to a different country, the things that you are shown when you log onto the internet are completely different. It's all curated. So, yeah, not cool. Not cool what they did. And that's like Facebook is a whole other thing right there. This is just Twitter. If only there was a word for when a small group of outside actors and secret security officials conspire to throw a sitting president out of office. Interesting. See, this is so funny too. Cuz these actors are supposed to be the creatives, right? The ones that like speak out against government and all that stuff. actor Mark Ru- Actor Mark Ruffalo calls for Twitter to be heavily regulated. Why? This is his tweet. As As a worldwide public square, this app should be heavily regulated for misinformation and spamming by hostile interests. If Elon can't do that with his company, it should be seen as a public utility under governmental supervision. The system, unregulated, will be more deadly. Yeah, more censorship. I was reading something recently and I think it's true. Did the world not really change, or at least it did in the United States? A lot of things really changed after 9/11. A lot. That was a random thought. I used to have one. They used what? Dial a young whippersnapper. I'm randomly reading your comments, and sometimes in the chat, I try to include myself in the chat, and I have no idea what's happening. All right, everyone. I hope you enjoyed that live stream. That's actually not the last that we're going to talk about Elon Musk because there's something about him that's super concerning, this whole Neuralink thing. So I would like to eventually go into that Neuralink, putting chips in the brain. I don't know, whatever. I don't want a chip in my brain. So now the far left isn't in control of Twitter. They will change it. Oh, old phones. Boring company. Yeah, Musk is an interesting character for sure. Interesting for sure. All right. Thank you all so much for watching. I will see you later. That was a fun live stream. It was fun to read through all of that with you guys. Hopefully, you have a fabulous Saturday. Yes, lots to talk about with Musk. Thank you very much. All right. Bye, everyone. Have a fabulous day.